$89 Australian dollars for a MacBook Air with 8GB of RAM, just as much RAM as the new MacBook Neo. Was this cheap MacBook Air from eBay worth buying? Well, let's open up the box and find out. It's always a gamble buying cheap MacBooks from eBay, and I'm usually quite surprised by the method that some people use to secure the laptops inside the boxes. Inside here, it looks as if we've got the celebrity chef Curtis keeping our Mac safe and secure. Digging in deeper, we've got the laptop surrounded by scrunched up paper and some bubble wrap, which appears to have been enough to keep it safe during shipping. First impressions, it's not filthy, so there's that. The screen hinge also feels pretty good. Overall, it's in decent cosmetic condition. Now, will it turn on? With a working battery, the answer is actually yes, and I wasn't sure what the password was supposed to be. On my second guess, I actually managed to get it right. This is the 2017 MacBook Air, which is a little bit of an odd Apple device. Apple quietly updated the 13-inch Air, which was almost identical to the 2015 model, featuring a then 2-year-old CPU but at a slightly faster clock speed. At least Apple slightly lowered the price by 50 Aussie dollars, costing $14.99 back in 2017. So this MacBook Air wasn't exactly cutting edge for the time, but speaking of cutting edge, if you're after a premium shaver to keep your facial hair in check, the Lifen P3 Pro might be just right for you. What's cool about this one is that Lifen didn't approach this like a traditional grooming brand. They've designed this shaver with the same mindset you'd normally expect from a smartphone or other high-end consumer tech product, focusing not just on performance but also on materials and engineering. It feels incredibly premium in the hand. The finish and build quality is truly top-notch. With an aerospace-grade aluminium alloy body, and this transparent window gives it a really unique look that lets you see part of the internal structure. Lifen says that this is the world's first pure CNC unibody electric shaver, which definitely helps explain why it feels much more like a piece of precision tech than a typical bathroom appliance. But of course, the real question is how it shaves. After about a week and a half, my facial hair looks like this, so I think it's time to see how the P3 Pro handles it. The dual-drive linear motor system delivers up to 24,000 cuts per minute, so it's designed to handle coarse facial hair quickly while still feeling smooth and controlled. The P3 Pro handled it with ease. With its compact design and travel lock feature, you can throw it in your bag and take it wherever life takes you. If you'd like to get a cleaner shave just like I've got, check out the links in the description and in the pinned comment to find out more about the Lifen P3 Pro. This Mac sadly didn't come with a charger, but I happen to have one lying around. To power this 2017 model, you'll need a MagSafe 2 charger of 45 watts or more, or this little thing, which allows you to use an older MagSafe 1 adapter. This was actually one of the last Macs to use MagSafe, before it was removed from all MacBooks for several years. This particular model was sold as used, not refurbished, so it could definitely do with a bit of a cleaning. That being said, this is a very decent example for a heavily used 9-year-old Air. I forgot just how versatile these are, even including Thunderbolt 2, 2 USB 3 ports, and an SD card slot. A very good selection of ports considering every other Apple laptop of that time had much less variety. Really, the only damage this model has is a slight dent to one of the corners. So let's give this aging laptop a good cleaning, shall we? Starting off with a wipe down using some eucalyptus oil. The surface was slightly grubby, but came up looking rather nice honestly. The keyboard had clearly seen quite a lot of use over the last few years, which is evident by just how shiny the keycaps had become. At least they are much cleaner now after a good wipe off and brushing. Some lens cleaner and a microfiber cloth got the screen looking close to perfect. And now that I've seen that this Mac is functional and the casing a lot cleaner, let's see what it looks like within. The slightly worn pentalobe screws suggest that this has been opened previously. What a nice thing to see. A battery that isn't glued into the casing, and I believe this was also the last MacBook to be sold with removable storage. Getting into these MacBook Airs is so easy, and that's great if you need to swap out parts. Because this model has a fan and of course airflow, quite a bit of dust had made its way inside. And before we delve in deeper, I'll disconnect the battery, which is still going strong with almost 450 charge cycles. Upgrade options are also plentiful when it comes to storage. More on that later in the video. Since I've opened this up, I'll redo the thermal paste, requiring this bridging connection connector to come out, which gives us access to the 3 screws holding in the single fan. It can then be disconnected and removed from the casing. Holding the heatsink onto the processor are 4 Torx screws. There is also one on the other end of the cooling pipe, and I did not realize that at first. It's been a long time since I've taken one of these apart. We now get a good look at the old thermal paste, which wasn't too crusty, and for some reason Apple never pastes that smaller die on the processors. I think it's called the North Bridge. Anyway, the tiny cooling fins surprisingly didn't have much dust on them. The fan itself was also pretty clean. I did, however, give them a brushing outside anyway. And going on is my thermal paste of choice, Arctic MX4, which I've found to be decent over the last few years. Now the reassembly can begin. This was really easy to do. You don't even need to remove the logic board like you would have had to in earlier MacBook Pro models. It's also worth noting that going from 128 to 256 gigabytes of storage back in 2017 cost an extra 300 Australian dollars. Yikes! And before closing the casing back up, I removed some of the gunk that had built up around the edges. And with the battery reconnected, let's see just how well this old Mac performs. Come to think of it, this was actually the cheapest Apple MacBook sold back in 2017, featuring just as much RAM as the new budget Neo model. I really do wish the Neo had more ports. You also sacrifice the nice backlit keyboard that the MacBook Air had. But in all honesty, the Neo's excellent value, and I've edited my last 3 videos on this, including the one you're watching right now. These older Airs really are a quality product though. The fit and finish is great, and that keyboard is still one of my favorites. Now it's time to load in some software and see how it performs with its anemic 5th generation dual-core i5 processor. Starting off with a CPU benchmark, it just didn't seem to work for some reason. But thankfully, the latest version of Minecraft, set to the fast graphical preset, was totally fine. Joining a multiplayer server was a reasonable experience. Simple games like Super Tux Kart had no problem running on here. The Intel HD graphics are enough for very light gaming. Surprisingly, old school RuneScape wasn't as smooth as I'd hoped it would be. It's playable, but the frame rate is pretty inconsistent. The graphical performance of this Mac is not good, especially by today's standards. It didn't score very well in the Unigine Heaven benchmark. Thankfully, when it comes to 1080p YouTube playback, this is totally capable, and web browsing in general was also very doable here. The best part about this model is that when the SSD dies, you can replace it, and while the drive in here is proprietary, with a small adapter, you can run pretty much any NVMe M.2 SSD that you'd like. This particular drive is out of my 11-inch MacBook Air that I use for recording audio. And what I like about Macs is that you can easily swap drives between machines and they'll likely just work. This 2017 Air originally came with macOS 10.12 Sierra, meaning you can run quite a lot of old versions on here if you wanted to. I personally use 10.14 Mojave, which allows me to use a version of Photoshop CS5 that I've had for many years. And that new thermal paste seems to be working as the temperatures didn't get over 54 degrees Celsius during a run of Cinebench R23. It is a shame that the 11-inch MacBook Air disappeared in 2016. I guess Apple didn't want it to compete with their new tiny 12-inch MacBook, which actually costs a lot more, mind you. That 11-inch MacBook Air was the cheapest laptop they were selling until it was discontinued. Would you have spent a few hundred more to buy the tiny, underpowered 12-inch? Or would the aging but cheaper 13-inch MacBook Air have done the job for you? macOS 10.12 Monterey is the newest officially supported version, but if you'd like to have a different experience, Linux is always an option and should be fairly easy to set up on this reasonably modern Mac. My distro of choice is Linux Mint since it's something lightweight, simple, and easy to use. Creating and installing the USB is easy using the program Balena Etcher, which is super easy to install. With the Linux Mint ISO selected and the USB inserted, it began creating the bootable installer. To boot from the USB, insert it into the Mac. Then during startup, immediately hold down the Option key and choose the EFI boot option, which is our Linux installer. From here, you can simply load into the OS. Compatibility mode might be required if you have trouble loading into Linux. From here, you can test out Linux while it runs from your installer USB, or simply wipe your internal drive and properly install the OS, which is what I'll be doing now. Once finished, all you've got to do is restart and eject the installer USB. Then you're all set to explore what Linux has to offer. The only issue I found was that the Wi-Fi card didn't seem to have the drivers installed. To get past this, I simply inserted a random TP-Link Wi-Fi dongle, which was immediately recognized, and once a Wi-Fi network was joined, I could simply install
install the missing driver from the driver manager. Now the system was fully functional and ready to use. Most of the apps I'd want to use were found in the software manager, all of them free and most of them open source. I was genuinely surprised that this laptop ran a lot faster than it did in macOS. The difference was huge. This is a great way to breathe some new life into older Macs, it seems, and I'll be leaving this laptop running Linux as it is much more usable now. This was a weird transitional time for Apple. I feel as if this Mac was kept around to offer the educational market something somewhat reasonably priced. At least it has 8GB of RAM though.
So there we have it. Older Intel Macs are very cheap now, and that's largely due to the fact that Apple Silicon has taken over and is in every way better. But if you'd like to use one of these older Intel Macs, you might start suffering when it comes to software support. However, if you go down the Linux route, a MacBook Air like this one makes for a very dependable and sturdy laptop. I'm pretty happy with what I got for $89 plus postage, and maybe you can pick up something similar and have a good time computing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I've got many more tech-related ones coming soon. Have a good one.